Hi, and welcome to Relationship Talk with Laura. Today we are going to see part 2 of my interview with Hollywood actress Erin Chambers. Let's go to our Hollywood studios now. Do you always solve your issues before you go to bed?
I think that was something I thought I had to do when I was first married. And as I've gotten older, I realized sometimes you just go to bed and you're not happy. Yeah. And you probably don't sleep well that night, but you have to go to bed. You can't stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning hashing something out because you have work the next day. And so, no, for me, I've heard a lot of people say that, don't go to bed angry. And sometimes you just have to because you have work.
So how do you handle it? Do you agree to go to bed angry, say, I love you, you love me, but we're going to put this on hold?
Sometimes we've said those things, but I don't think that always happens. Sometimes it's just we're not getting along and we're disagreeing on something.
But you're still married.
But we're still married. We're still sleeping
and doing
in the same
well.
bed. Yeah.
So you're doing a lot right.
I think so. I think it's normal to have, like I said, months or weeks or days where you're not in sync. I think that's really normal in life.
But you're not going out and having an affair because of your commitment.
No, because of my commitment, yes.
So in other words, you have faith. Faith that it's going to iron out.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I try to have a positive outlook that everything always does work out, and it may take a while for certain kinks to be unfolded or unrolled or whatever, but they eventually settle down and you figure it out.
That's fantastic, and that's great advice for our listeners. How about movies? And tell me about your first movie. You told me a story about that before we came on our air today.
Well, the first movie I did was this really great little Disney Channel film, and I got it when I was in college out in Utah, and it was a really great experience because it was my first time being the lead and carrying a movie, and I really understood that whole idea of becoming a family with the people you work with. I mean, before I had done theater and smaller little stuff, but it wasn't like all day long, 14, 15, 16-hour days. You really get to know people and you really become tight with them. Yeah. And so it was really hard to say goodbye to that second family that I had made. And I think a lot of times too, I did another film a couple years ago out of state, and I was there for I think 5 weeks, and that was the longest Carson and I had ever gone apart, which was very hard. That's where we learned that Skype was our friend and that we could Skype and and stay in touch that way. But you really do become tight with these people, and you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about relationships. And I had an experience with this one director where he just said, "Hey, can I talk to you after during lunch today?" And I was like, "Sure." I'm getting fired. What's happening? And we just had a really great heart-to-heart where he was telling me, our communication is not working on set, and I need you to just be a woman and tell me what you want. And I was like, wow, I am a woman. I can just tell you what I want, sure. And it turned out to be a really great learning experience for me that he felt comfortable enough to tell me that, because it really did, I think, help the communication on set, because you want to get along well with the people that you're working with, because you're spending quite a bit of time with each other. But I came home from that film and I told Carson about it, and he was like, "Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that with you." So sometimes when we're arguing, or if he feels like I'm not just getting to the point, he'll be like, "Come on, be a woman. Tell me what you want."
Be a woman. Tell me what you want. What did the director mean by be a woman?
I think he felt like I was, and I totally agree with him, I was just being a little wishy-washy and not being confident enough to just tell him what was going on. I think he felt like I was being a little manipulative.
Okay.
Which I think that's pretty standard with actors. Okay. I think a lot of actors can be manipulative. You learn that in acting school. The whole idea when you're in acting school is you're learning what your objective is, and then you try to figure out, how am I going to get what I want? And you use all these different tactics. That's like basic scene study in acting school.
Wow. So, manipulation is one of the marriage traps that can happen.
And Carson and I talk about that a lot. He'll be like, "What tactic are you using on me right now?" Which is great. It's like he's calling me out on it. And, and I don't think, it happens. I think it just happens in life. People manipulate each other. But I think when you get to a certain level with it, that's not healthy. That's not good.
So Erin is saying that one of the communication tips is not to manipulate your spouse. That be a grown-up, be a woman, be a man. You don't need to manipulate or use tricks. Instead, just articulate what you want straightforward, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're going to have a better marriage or a better relationship.
You'll have better communication, which I think is like the key in relationships.
That's great. So, how do you treat your husband when he comes home from work? Do you have any special routine, or how do you cater to him?
Well, if I'm home when he comes home, because sometimes that doesn't always happen if I'm working or whatever. But if I am home when he comes home, I always greet him with a kiss, and I ask him, "How was your day?" So that's how I always do it. I'm sure there's been days where I haven't done it, but that's my ideal. I want to feel like I'm being supportive and loving and welcoming when he comes home. I remember someone once said, I don't remember where I heard this, but something to the effect of make him feel like coming home is where he wants to be when he comes home. I know I'm totally butchering that.
No, that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Make him glad to come home. I think that was it. Something like that.
Right. Oh, gosh, that's so great. So Erin is talking about rituals. It's very important that as couples we have rituals that we do all the time. And they're special between us. So one of hers is greeting her husband with a hug and a kiss. Do you have other rituals that you use that are special to you and unique to you in your marriage?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, well, if you think
if
of
it comes back, I'll tell you.
You can let me know. All right. Well, how about
I have
go
a
ahead.
ritual.
Good.
Thinking of one. It's really sweet. Every time that I book a job, we always go out to dinner and celebrate.
Nice.
Which is important for me because it's nice to feel like Carson's right there with me, being excited, and which he is. He's always excited. Except when I have to go away. He's always a little bummed if I have to go out of town.
Of course,
sense.
He loves you.
Yeah, he's a little bummed when I have to dye my hair. Like right now, my hair is a darker shade of red.
How does he prefer your hair?
He likes it strawberry blonde.
Yeah.
And he asked me recently because I went in to redarken it again when I didn't really have to. I just did it because I liked it and I feel like it's working for me right now. He's like, when are you going to go back to red, your normal red? Why can't you just go blonde next? It's like, well, this is what's working right now. So I'm sorry.
This is how the bills are being paid?
Yes.
So, honey, bills, finances, and that brings up another issue, which is finances.
Okay.
Erin earns her own money, her husband earns his own money, and one of the traps in marriage is finances. So how do you handle finances?
This is something that we're still working on, I think, as a couple. So I don't know if I could really impart some solid wisdom in this department.
All right.
I just know for us, it's been helping to sit down and talk about the money because it's there, and I think to just not talk about it and not have a budget of some kind, I think you can fall into some bad habits.
So once again, same old thing, communications. So if you learn one thing from this interview, it would be that you communicate with each other straightforward, no manipulations, and you respect each other and you listen to each other. But we're going to pursue more. Here we go. All right, so let's talk about how do you prepare for the fame? I mean, you've had quite a bit of fame when you've been on different shows. How have you prepared for it so that you don't change who you are and you stay down to earth?
It's funny because I don't even consider myself a celebrity at all. I mean, it's exciting and it's flattering that people recognize me, but I still feel like I'm working and trying to still move up in my career. So it's very flattering that you say it like that. But I think as I move forward with my career and as I become, I guess, I don't know, more famous, I would hope that I still maintain that down-to-earth quality about myself, because that's something that people tell me all the time when I work, and I take that as a great compliment, that I don't come across, I guess, as your typical Hollywood actor or whatever. I definitely can be self-deprecating, which I think is always endearing and fun. I mean, that's why I love Jennifer Lawrence. She's very candid and honest and doesn't think too much of herself, which is really refreshing. And I look, even though she's younger than me, I look up to her in that respect. I find that really endearing, and I would hope to be like that in that way. And I think also I've noticed this with a lot of my actor friends and just actors in general. There's so much more to an actor than just acting. Like, I have other interests and passions and dreams and hopes, and I think a lot of actors can get really sucked into that idea of, this is what I want, and so this is what I have to focus on, and this is only what I'm going to focus on. And that doesn't mean for a happy life, I think, personally. I think that there's a lot of things in life that make me happy. I have a lot of other interests, too, that I try to pursue, I guess, or just to keep going on. I'm like, I love, I'm going to sound like a grandma, but I love to knit. I love knitting. I find it so relaxing and therapeutic. I love to just sit there and like work with my hands, and that's something that's a great thing to take on set too, because you can still run lines and be engaged, but I'm just working my hands. And I love it.
So what do you knit?
I knit a lot of baby gifts for a lot of friends. All my
Lucky
friends are having babies right now. I make little hats. I've made scarves. I've made mittens. Mittens are really hard because I kept messing up on the gusset.
The thumb part?
The thumb part.
Oh.
I kept making little holes, so I've got to work on that. I got to hire a knitting coach.
I'm glad she's not perfect.
No, I'm not perfect. Very far from that. So I think it's just important to maintain that down-to-earth quality, just to remember that there's more to life than your career and acting. That I've got a great husband, I have a really cute dog, I have a great family, I love being an aunt, I have nieces and nephews, I love going to the beach. There's other stuff going on in life.
You can see why I like Erin and why I wanted her on the show. She really is the embodiment of down to earth. She says she's down to earth. She is down to earth. And that's something to remember in our marriages, in our relationships. Sometimes we get full of ourselves and think that we're so important, and we judge our mates rather than realizing who and what we are, and that there's more to life than whatever we're focused on that moment. So I'm going to ask Erin this tough question.
Uh-oh.
You know, your husband's not perfect.
No.
And he has faults.
Yep.
But how do you not focus on the faults and focus on the good things about him?
That's something that I think I've recently kind of, I don't know if I'd say I would mastered it, but I'm getting way better at that. And what I try to do is, if I'm having a moment where I'm like, oh, is not putting his clothes away. I think that's just a male thing.
He's like every other male.
Clothes
yes.
are just all over the place in the bedroom. And I'm like, the hamper's right there. You can put it in the hamper.
Yeah.
But I just remind myself there's so many wonderful things about him that are so much more important than dirty clothes on the floor.
So it doesn't matter in the eternities of time, right?
No. The fact that there's a lot of wonderful things about him that I'm so grateful that I have in a husband, because he's a great cook, and he's extremely helpful and genuine and loyal. And
how lucky does he hire out a cook? How lucky you are.
I'm very lucky. Yes, he's a good cook.
So in other words, then, she's saying that it's important to focus on the good things about your mate and not the little unimportant things like he doesn't put his clothes in the hamper. Yeah, minor. And so many out there would be thrilled to have a husband anyway, right?
Yes, I shouldn't be complaining.
Right. Well, and you're not. That's the whole thing. Okay, so how does being married help you in the business?
Well, I think we were talking about this a little bit before. I came out to LA, I think I was 19 or 20. I was still in college, and I decided to take a little break and come out here. And it was really hard to be in this business and not have that support, that foundation when I came home. It was really hard. And with Carson and having a husband, it's just so nice to come home, because he loves me and he accepts me. And he loves me if I don't get the part, he loves me if I do get the part. He loves me if I've had a great day on set or a really terrible day on set. He just accepts me for who I am, and that's so not this business.
So he gives you stability.
Yes, he gives me stability, and I think that's really important, because when you're in an industry that's constantly changing, one day you have the part, the next day you don't, it's really nice to have somebody that's just solid, that's not moving, that's not leaving.
Do you think that some of the single people that are in the business have it harder because they need adulation, and they go home to an empty apartment or an empty house? And
well, yeah, because I can say I've seen it from both sides. I was in the business as a single person, and then I'm in the business now as a married person, and it's so much easier. Plus, you have someone to read lines with.
So the extra thing. So, okay, remember, spouses, we always help each other with whatever the other person needs. That's giving the other person the kind of love that they want. So I could say that you probably live the platinum rule of marriage, which is do unto your mate as you want them to do unto you.
Yes. Well, and something just recently, I kept asking Carson to run lines at a time that was too late for him. And that was something that we had to discuss. Like, if it's before a certain time, no problem. He'll even throw in like silly, funny little accents, and it makes it really fun.
Cute.
But if it's after a certain time, I have to respect the fact that he gets up a lot earlier than me, and so it's like we reach a certain time, and I know I've I've missed the deadline, I guess.
Okay, so then at that point you're saying, okay, Carson's tired, and so I'm going to give him the kind of love that he needs, not what I want right now. I actually said the platinum rule of marriage wrong a couple of minutes ago. I said it as the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The platinum rule is do unto your mate as they want done unto them. So that's what you said you do. When Carson is too tired, you let him go to bed. That's great. All right, let's look at some of my other questions. All right, so you're so sweet and very unjaded. How have you done it? How do you keep your innocence? How do you keep your lovely look? You're not hard at all. How do you do it?
Well, I think even when people, because someone asked me this the other day in an audition, he said something like, "You're always so perky." And yeah, I have a perky disposition, but I'm not always perky. I'm not always on. I have days and moments where life is hard, you know, or I'm having a bad day. And so I think I always have tried to have the attitude of looking at life, what is it, glass half full?
Yes, rather than half empty.
Yeah, I always try to focus on the positive and go in that direction because, yeah, things happen and life can be really hard and there can be trials and disappointments. And I think I try to focus on what I do have and what I want and focus in on that instead of succumbing, I think, to that. I don't know. Everybody has issues and demons inside of them. I think that's just part of being human. And I think for me, yeah, I can be perky and silly and goofy and energetic, but that's not all of me. You know, there's definitely
the other parts.
The other parts, yeah. And I think it's learning how to, I don't know.
So when you have a down day, what do you do? I'm sure that the audience wants to know.
I think when I'm having a down day, I open my arms to that down day. Okay. And I don't know, I relax on the couch or I read a book or I just try to, I don't know, accept the feelings I'm feeling.
Or knit.
Earn it?
Or knit.
Or knit. Oh yes, I thought you said earn it. I was like, what does that mean? Yes, or knit. I love knitting. I love playing the piano. That's really therapeutic for me. It really just makes me feel good.
Did you hear that? So all of you out there who get depressed or unhappy some days, take it from actress Erin that what you need to do is focus on something else, embrace it, relax, lay on the couch, watch TV, read a book, knit, whatever your favorite activity is, or play the piano. Find what it is that you like and treat yourself well. And sounds like you just have a lot of wisdom that you're able to roll with your life.
Yeah, I get a lot of massages too. Massages are great.
Okay, all right. That sounds good to me. We talked a little about, I want you to tell me your Lucy Liu story. Tell me about your Lucy Liu story.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Lucy Liu. She's the actress from Charlie's Angels. I think she's currently on CBS's Elementary right now. And she and I were at the airport at the same time. I can't remember where I was flying to, but it was an international flight because I remember I was flying to Argentina. I was doing a really cute cotton commercial in Buenos Aires, which was awesome.
No kidding.
Buenos
Did you love
Aires
it?
It's amazing because you feel like you're in Europe, but you're not paying the euro.
Okay.
So if you want a European experience, but you don't want to, because Europe can be really expensive. I think right now it's extremely expensive to go there. Go to South America. But anyway, we were in the same line together to go through security, and I was really impressed with her. She was on the phone with an old friend, I think. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but it's when you're standing right next to someone, it's hard not to hear their half of the conversation. But she was very focused on her friend and asking her friend a lot of questions, and which was surprising because I've met a lot of actors where all they do is talk about themselves. So it was really refreshing to hear her talk and just be so involved in her friend.
Right.
I really admired that. And it was just refreshing. And I really wanted to have a moment with her, but I wasn't going to be obnoxious or ask her, you know, oh my gosh, can I get your picture? I just didn't want to bug her. I wanted to give her space, but I wanted to have a moment with her.
Sure.
And she had this really cool leather bag, and I really like leather stuff. And so I just casually said, oh my gosh, I love your bag. That is so cool. And she was very warm and friendly and just was like, oh, thank you. Yeah, my friend gave it to me. And we had this little exchange, and she was very sweet, very friendly. And then all of a sudden the X-ray man machine guy, whatever that job is, they were watching the things go in the x-ray machine, whatever that is, he recognized her and said, "Oh my gosh, you're that famous actor." And she immediately was a little guarded, and it's like her demeanor really changed. And it was just kind of, I don't know, just a reminder to me that actors are people too, and she just wanted to have a normal conversation about her bag and not be, I don't know, harassed by the x-ray man machine guy, whatever his position is called. So anyway, she's a sweetheart. I really enjoyed chatting with her.
I love that story because I think that's a moral, again, for how we treat our spouses, that we respect them, whatever mood they're in, where they're at any moment, that we don't force anything on them. I mean, Erin could have said, "Hey, you know me."
No, she doesn't know me.
Tried to use her celebrityhood to get her to talk to her and have a picture snapped with her. But it would have been absolutely irritating to Lucy Liu, and instead she respected her. And that's really a key word today for us to remember, is we need to respect our spouses, our mates, our children. And that's just really critical. Do you have any advice you would like to give people from your 10 years experience in a healthy relationship?
In a marriage, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, any advice? I think I've covered a lot of like my little tidbits that I do.
You've done great.
I think, and that was something that Carson said early on in our marriage, is focusing, if you each focus on each other, if I'm focusing on him and taking care of him, and he's focusing on me and taking care of me, we're good. I've seen relationships and marriages where the wife is totally there for the hubby, but he's not giving her that exact same treatment, and that's where marriages aren't, that's where they're not working out. So I would say if you focus on each other instead of yourself, and that goes back to that, I don't know, golden rule, platinum rule, I don't remember what you said, but when you're focusing on the other person, everything's better. And I think you also get a sense of happiness when you're serving others and focusing on others instead of yourself. And I think too, I'm reading a really great book right now that I like. It's called The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. Have you heard of it? She, her whole book is about the philosophy of being happy, which I'm kind of obsessed with. I like that idea of what is happiness? How do we become happy? And everybody has different paths and philosophies on what brings them happiness. And her philosophy, which I felt like I really connected with, was on growing. When we're growing and we're experiencing growth, we are our most happy, which really rang a lot of truth to me. And she talked a lot about the whole fallacy of when you get what you want, sometimes you're not happy because it's not what you'd expected it to be. So really focusing on the journey of getting to that goal is what brings you, and feeling like you're growing is what brings you happiness. And I've really, what's the word? I've enacted that with my marriage, or applied it.
Yes.
I've applied it to my marriage, in that if Carson and I are growing together, we're good. As long as we're growing together and not apart.
Right.
Because I think as you get older, I'm a totally different person than who I was when I got married. I got married really young. I was 23, and I'm 33 now, and I'm a really different person. And so is Carson. But luckily, instead of growing apart, we've grown together. So, and we've set goals together, and we try to work towards certain things together, and it's all about being on the same team.
Being on the same team. So this is really fantastic advice. Growing together, and her keyword, serving each other. So thank you so much,
You're so
Erin,
welcome.
for being with us today.
Sure.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Relationship Talk with Laura. Thank you so much, Erin Chambers. Let's now summarize Erin's marriage tips. Number 8. Treat your spouse like a celebrity in that you honor him or her with respect. Number 9, if you can't solve a disagreement and need to go to work or sleep, put it in a box and come back to it later and solve it together. Number 10, be a woman, be a man. Tell your mate what you want and need from him or her to be a team and have a successful marriage. Don't expect him or her to know. Number 11, always make your mate grateful to come home to you. 12, don't focus on your mate's faults. Instead, focus on his or her good qualities. And remember, no one is perfect. Number 13, serve each other. Number 14, Live the platinum rule. Do unto your mate as he or she would want you to do unto him or her, not what you want. 15. Set goals with each other. 16. Focus on the journey with your mate of growing and learning together. That is where happiness lies. Number 17. Always remember, your marriage is a blessing. It provides stability and a partner to help you and share the good times and the bad times. Thanks for joining us on Relationship Talk with Laura. What great tips from actress Erin Chambers. We'll see you next time.